All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into some what I would call very much first world problems, first world annoyances that really grind my gears and I think grind your gears too. And we'll get into that into the junction. I'll explain more about it, but we'll try to have some fun with that one too. Um, we also have a very good cage fact, so all that's coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. It's a show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons in everything. We have a good time doing it. Hope everybody had a good week. My week it was a good week, a productive week, but a mentally busy, honed in week, if you will. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use to describe it, but I have to be honest. I was so focused on stuff I was doing for Spearhead. I've been doing this new business and marketing online training that I signed up for to learn about that and to try new approaches to marketing to the right clientele. That my brain was not thinking about LPDS stuff at all, and it's probably for the best because, as I'm sure you know, there's been endless negative stuff going on in the news. You got the fires in California, you got other political stuff happening. So I'm happy that I don't know enough about any of that stuff to have a short-sighted opinion, which I've been known to put out there into the ether. So but also I was struggling to find some good stuff for us to have fun with on the episode this week. It wasn't until the last minute that I came up with some stuff, and that's one of the look. There's pros and cons of the LPDS when it comes to topics and what we talk about. It's wide open. We could talk about anything. That's one of the great things about this show is it is not stovepipe to one specific thing. Obviously, I talk about Cage Facts stuff all the time because I love Nic Cage. That's different. It's not mandatory. If we don't have a Cage Fact, we don't have a Cage Fact. But listen, luckily for all of us, there's a plethora of Cage Facts and interesting things to talk about with him. So we won't have to worry about that. But because there's anything to talk about, sometimes my brain gets into that sort of uh, analysis to paralysis situation where it's like, well, I can literally talk about anything this week, so what is it going to be? And it becomes, mentally overwhelming. And then tack on the fact that I wasn't focusing on anything else but spearhead stuff and work stuff. You get into one of these situations sometimes where it's coming down to the wire to figure out something good to bring up to the junction in the LPDS universe. Now, if this was a one subject, one topic podcast about leadership or the Yankees or whatever. That's it. It makes it a little bit more mundane, if you will. If you're not a leadership person, if you're not a Yankees person, then obviously you're not going to be a fan of the show. But it makes it a little bit easier for me, per se, to be able to put out episodes of, yeah, I'm going to talk about this leadership topic. It's always going to be leadership. It gives me lanes in the road of what to talk about. It's always going to be about the Yankees and bitching about the Yankees and this and that. That makes it a little bit easier. But I don't, we don't do easy here. All right. Not to mention the fact that I like to talk about more than just one thing. So we're going to talk about all the different stupid shit in the world all the time. And that's what we get to, that's the freedom we have here. So I'll deal with the quote unquote pitfalls of not being creative enough to come up with good ideas every once in a while because I still have the option to come up with ideas as opposed to, oh, well, I created this, Yankees only podcast, so I got to stick to Yankees only stuff. So, whatever. I'm just ranting at this point. With that though, I I was thinking about, I want to get your take on it. I was thinking about not changing the format. There's really not much of a format, but wasting time on quote unquote current events, if you will, and just making those future junction topics. And I've done that in the past where I talk about like tomatoes, for instance. I've talked about those in current event updates, and then I've talked about tomatoes in junction topic updates or whatever. I'm thinking about just Cage Fact Junction, and then we just roll. Whatever comes out in the junction comes out in the junction. It could be current events related, it could be topic related, it could be questions that you guys submit, it could be hotline calls, it could be whatever. Um, I'm thinking about this for two reasons. So again, I'm looking for your input on this to see if you agree with that or if there's a better something better that you would also like that would keep things, fun for everybody, still fun for me, still fun for you, still entertaining for everybody. But the two reasons I'm thinking about, one, it makes it a little bit easier to have I can pick, if there's current events going on in the world that are worth talking about and having fun with at least, or learning something about, I just make that the junction topic. And it makes it a little bit easier. It's like, oh, now I don't have to I don't have to feel obligated to come up with current events shit and then junction shit as well. It's just one thing. So there's that. The second thing is I am moving away from talking about most current events, as I think you've noticed, because most of them are negative and chaotic stuff and creates unfun atmosphere. I guess you can call it. Yeah, there's division, there's opinions. Most of it ends up having some sort of political tie to it, and I just don't like talking about that stuff out in the public anymore. Um, I think it's a little hypocritical of me to be bitching about political crap, even as objective as I try to be with it, while I'm sitting there trying to also focus on the big three and not being a shitty person or a negative person. And I think talking about current events as they are, unless it's sports related, movie related, something fun, um, then it becomes, it goes down towards the negative trail. Even some of the conspiracy theories that are usually fun to talk about always end up having some sort of political tie to them. So unless it's like aliens or Bigfoot or something like that, the tinfoil hat stuff probably slow down on too for that reason because I don't want to get towards negative town. Now, if we're gonna bitch and rant and shit talk about Stugatzes of the week, we're gonna still do that, but it's gonna be in a fun, jokey, like, yeah, I'm not really mad at these types of people, but this is fun to make some jokes about and to find some common ground because we all have the Stugatzes of our lives, whether it's the gym, the people in the gym who don't follow gym etiquette, you know, people on airplane who don't follow airplane or airport etiquette, all those types of people, we can we can bitch and moan and rant about those, and we all know that we're just going to be joking, we're having fun with it, and it's going to be a good time. We're still going to bitch and shit talk because I do love a good shit talk, especially with my friends. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep the quote unquote negative stuff to the fun topics and the fun things to bitch about that aren't really that important. Which brings me to the junction topic, which is what we're going to talk about today. With that, I know I rambled on about a whole bunch of stuff that probably didn't make sense to people. With that, step into the what am I saying here? Let's get into the good stuff and step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Pete's Pet Rocks. Are you a lonely incel so despised by society that not even a mangled shelter dog would want to be adopted by you, but you still desperately want some form of companionship? Then get yourself a pet rock from Pete today. Pete discovered a surplus of rocks on his property that were ruining his landscaping, so he cleaned them up with the hose and is now offering them up at a quality rate to you so you can finally have something to spend time with that won't try to off itself within the first hour of being in your parents' basement with you. So to finally get that lifelong companion today, visit www.rocksolidrelationship.com. If you use the promo code VIRGIN, you'll get 29% off your first pet rock and hopefully your only pet rock. I am not, let's just clear the air here. I am not anywhere close to pet rock status in my life. I would argue the opposite. Everything's going great. I happen to be in a basement, sure, but this is by choice. I'm not trapped here. I can leave whenever I want. There's actual doors that are outside right to my left here. You're right on the screen if you're watching in YouTube land. Goes right out to the backyard to the woods. Yeah, there's a lot of pet rocks out there potentially, but that's not what I'm good. But if you're not good, don't test the strength of your shoelaces. Get yourself a pet rock. Okay. It won't leave you. You can say and do whatever you want with it. It's never going to feel any sort of way negatively towards you. So get a pet rock. The dungeon really brings in some strange sponsors, let me tell you. Anyway, the Cage Fact. I just saw this. I'm actually surprised I haven't seen it earlier. But then again, during the 80s, recordings of stuff were not as archived effectively as they have been, in the 21st century. We have cell phones, you can digitally download stuff and everything is saved and recorded and all that stuff. But Nic Cage did an ad in the 80s, probably late 80s, um, for the Boys Town Hotline. Now, if you've never heard of this, most people probably haven't heard of this. I only remember it vaguely, not from Nic Cage's hotline ad, but from other people doing ads for this. Maybe I saw one or two in my lifetime as a child. The Boys Town Hotline is a hotline for distressed children and teenagers to call when they're dealing with life's problems as a child and a teen. It was set up, because kids have problems too. To adults, they don't seem like problems. Like, oh, you're afraid of the dark, or you're getting bullied at school. Like, toughen up. Stop being. You're a child. Those aren't real problems. I got real problems. You know, I got the mob on me because I made a bad bet, or this and that, whatever it may be. I got real problems. You're just a kid. Kids have problems too. It's all relative. Okay, don't forget the worst thing that ever happened to you as a kid at the time was the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life. And you're going to react and feel the same way as you would as an adult if the worst thing ever happened to you. It's all relative. Okay? And we've talked about this in the past. But that's what the Boys Town Hotline was. It was a hotline for kids to call to talk about their problems so they don't do something crazy, you know, like test the strength of their shoelaces or something, or get depressed and become, you know, mentally unhealthy people later on in life as adults. So that's what the hotline was. In fact, it's still around. I did some very quick recon. The hotline is still around. Boys Town Hotline is still around. Same phone number, 800, like 334-3000 or 834-3000, whatever it was, same phone number for 30 years now. Probably more than that. I don't know when the Boys Town Hotline started, but Nic Cage did this ad for it back when before he was big. It might have been even before he did like Leaving Las Vegas and those movies that actually put him on the map. It was an old ad. He was wearing like a maroon, but like a bright maroon blazer with shoulder pads naturally. He had longer hair, super young. Might have been around the time of Moonstruck, just before Moonstruck, maybe. and he put out this and he did this hotline ad for the Boys Town hotline to make sure that all the kids out there knew. Now, again, this is the 80s, and Nic Cage was not as well known. But if I was a kid right now, like at the height of Cage, and I see that ad as a kid, like that's credibility. I know like that's what companies do when they market using celebrity testimonials like that. It's that's that's what they're going for. Now, most of the time it doesn't work anymore because we know celebrities, especially on the actor side, they're actors. They're professional actors for a living. They get paid to lie and pretend to be something else. So now we kind of see through that and we know the bullshit that like Robert De Niro really doesn't believe in adult depend diapers. Not a, but he's getting paid to pretend he likes diapers. Maybe he does, I don't know. I don't believe that it's for ads. But for kids, we didn't know that. So if I was a kid right now, if I was like an 8-year-old kid right now, and Nic Cage is out there putting this ad like, "Hey, are you feeling troubled, sad, hurt, whatever, distressed? Call this hotline. They'll take care of you. You have my word that they'll take care." I would have called that hotline. No doubt about it. Did I have problems when I was a kid? Sure. Were they real problems comparatively? No, they were kid problems, but they were still problems. I would have absolutely called that hotline and I would have asked for Nic Cage. That would have been the trick that would have got me is when I saw celebrities doing cool stuff on TV on commercials, I was expecting to speak to the celebrity when I called in or I mailed something or whatever it was. So I would have fully expected to talk to Nic Cage if this was going on right now if I was a kid. I know better now. That's why I don't call the hotline, but it would have been nice. So anyway, that's the Cage fact. Moving on over to the Junction, spin the logo off, kind of get the things going here. Real quick, if you're looking in YouTube land, I'm hatless today. I don't have, I didn't set up my standard mic and headset and audio mixer setup that I usually do. I brought it with me, but this is a quicker solution right now. This little clip-on mic here. But with that, I don't have the headset on, which means I don't need to protect the headset from my head grease and oil. And also, it's not that cold down here in the dungeon today. For whatever reason, it warmed up to a level that I don't need to keep my head warm right now. It's doing okay. So this is one of the first times in a long time, I think, that I've been hatless. And most of you probably will just listen on Apple or Spotify, so you don't, it's transparent to you anyway. But I thought it was a big deal. I'm also still using the blue background because the basement is still a mess and it's not going to get cleaner anytime soon. And I thought this background would be nice. However, if you're looking in YouTube, it's still, I don't know, maybe it highlights the mess even more because it's not wide enough to cover the whole camera backdrop or whatever. So you can see on the sides in YouTube here that I have rubble on the left and the right of me. So maybe I don't know if it's highlighting that or not, or making it worse, or maybe me just bringing it up is making it worse. I don't know. Either way, that's what we got going on out here in the dungeon. My parents are upstairs watching Robin Hood. Well, my mom is napping before football, and my old man is watching Robin Hood, the Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman, Alan Rickman Robin Hood, not any of the other crap that's been out there. Actually, those I take that back. The Robin Hood style movie with who's the bald guy with the pronounced schnoz? He played the bad guy in that other sort of Robin Hood. Was Gladiator in that too? What's Gladiator's name? The Australian guy. Was he in that Robin Hood too? It might have been. That was a pretty good Robin Hood. That's what I'm trying to say. That was a pretty good Robin Hood. So nothing to take away from that one, but they're watching the OG one that we grew up on as kids, Kevin Costner one. They're upstairs. I'm trying to keep it quiet. But I don't think they can hear me anyway because the TV volume is so loud. I can hear that. I know exactly what part of the movie they're on. So, um, that's what we got going on here. Anyway, I wanted to bitch about some stuff and kind of bring light to some the humor of it all, the ironic humor of it all, of what I would call first world problems. They're not real problems, but in the moment, they're some of the most annoying, frustrating things that happen. I'm only going to talk about three right now. There's a lot of them, and I want to get your input, and I'm going to put out a solicitation on Instagram and Facebook and the internets for people to put in their first, well, give me your first world, like most frustrating issues, things that happen to you, but they're in the grand scheme of things, they're not really problems. And then we'll talk about those too, and we'll have some fun with it. I just came up with this last minute, so that's why I didn't put it out earlier. But it's in the moment stuff that gets you so frustrated. That's what kind of snapped me. I was like, oh, I can bitch about this for a little bit. Uh, and I know we all have them, but I'm curious to see what flips the switch, what triggers it for you guys too. Because we might have some similar ones, we might have vastly different ones. For instance, one of the ones that gets me, and I realize here, LPDS caveat, I realize this is an absolute me problem. In fact, I would argue I might be the only one who gets annoyed by this. And this is an internal me problem that I need to work on. I probably need to go to a therapist or some doctor to get this figured out. But as an adult, when a girl I'm dating or a significant other calls me handsome or says I look handsome, bothers me to no end. Bothers me to no end. And it's not their fault. I don't get annoyed with them. I just get annoyed by that word handsome. And again, I know that's my problem. It's just crazy. It doesn't make any logical sense. So I don't want to hear people saying that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. It doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense. I know it's stupid. I got it. You reiterating that to me is almost just as stupid because you're preaching to the choir, fella. I know it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Why would that bother me? That's a compliment. Why would compliments bother me? Here's why. Doesn't make any sense, but here's why. When I was a kid, I'm thinking of a specific instance here, but this has happened multiple times in my kiddom throughout my childhood. The one specific instance I remember to this day. I don't remember the exact age I was. I know that I was probably between 5 and 7 years old, probably closer to five, if I were to venture a guess, because it was before we moved from our first house that I grew up in, which we moved out in 1994 to the next house that we spent, 10, 15 years in or however long it was. So in 1994, I was 8, and this was well before that, a couple years before that. It was Easter's, and we were going to my grandparents' house, my mother's parents' house, the Scalinchis, Big Al and Big Yolanda. Going to their house, we would go to Easter Sunday Mass, and then back to the grandparents' house for meals and open up our Easter basket treats and then do an Easter egg hunt and what have you. Now, when I was younger, we dressed formally for church. Okay? Button down shirt, jacket, slacks, the whole nine. Like full suit kind of situation for big holidays like that. Christmas and Easter's, you dressed up like you were going on a business trip or had an interview or something. And I was dressed in suit, which wasn't a big deal. It was more like slacks and a button down, not really a suit, but it was formal-ish. And then I had a I don't even know the name of the jacket. You know the executive jacket from Seinfeld? It was that with the belt though. So instead of the beltless raincoat, I guess it's technically a raincoat. It was the opposite executive. It was that kind of jacket, darker color. It wasn't a tan color, but it was that sort of overcoat, raincoat, not a trench coat because it wasn't like Matrix black leather kind of thing. But I had that jacket, belt cinched, and then I had this freaking hat, and as a kid, like I don't regret the hat. I also don't regret feeling awesome with the hat, but I would never wear it as an adult. If you wear this type of hat as an adult, you're one of those weirdo freaks. Okay? You know the guys who wear the fedora, like the adults who wear the fedoras that are not in movies, the people just around in real life wearing fedoras. And I promise you, you see a guy like there is not one human being, one man that you have seen in real life that wears a fedora that is not like a weirdo freak kind of guy. Like you look at that guy, you're like, oh, he's a fedora wearer. He's one of those. Unlike like the movies, people wear fedoras. It's like awesome. Cary Grant, Humphrey Bogart, like Cuban Cuban kingpins down in Miami in movies. If you wear a fedora in a movie, you're cool. In real life, I'm sorry, you're not cool. You might be a nice person, I might be friends with you, but that's like you're not cool. Just like me wearing a fanny pack. It's not cool. I got it. I'm still gonna wear it, but that's like fedora for that, like you're marked. You're a marked man. You're a fedora guy. Got it. This was not technically a fedora, I don't think, but it was fedora adjacent, 100%. It was in the fedora family. And and this sucks, but it was awesome when I was a kid. It had a feather coming out of it, coming out the top. So I looked like Robin Hood or Peter Pan. It was very similar to the Peter Pan hat, just not green. It was deep navy blue with the feather coming out. And I wore that bastard. And I remember distinctly in our car ride over to my grandparents' house, I was forcing my sister to call me Peter, not because my middle name is Peter, but because I was Peter Pan. I was wearing the Peter Pan cap and I was cool. I was like Peter Pan meets Neo from the Matrix because I had the coat on, even though it wasn't a Matrix trench coat. I felt like that. And I so stupid. I remember looking out the window of the car like Michael Scott did in the Office episode where Dwight's getting yelled at for the fire alarm, the exercise that he ran that gave Stanley a heart attack, and Michael Scott goes over to the window and he puts his leg up. He goes, "Ah, the city." That's what I was looking out the window like I was being filmed for a noir movie, and I was like, "Ah, the highway." Peter Pan just out here going after Captain Hook. Another day on the job. And I felt awesome. Now here's where the handsome stuff comes into play. Follow me here. We're weaving in and out of the story. We're still tracking, okay? My grandparents, both sets, my grandmother's especially, and then my mom too when I was real young as well. When I was dressed up in anything, and a lot of times too, it wasn't my mom dressing me up. I was dressing up in this gear because I thought it was cool. I wanted to be an adult. I wanted to be Peter Pan. I wanted to be a detective, whatever it was. And the adult ladies would always go, "Oh, you look so handsome in that. Look how handsome you are with your little hat and your little feather." And and then when I'm a kid trying to be an adult and my family's talking to me like that, I wasn't having it. I just wasn't having it. I was an adult. I was Peter Pan. And you're saying, "Oh, look how handsome you look with your little feather." Peter Pan took down Hook. He took down a pirate and his entire group of merry men. I don't think no. Robin Hood and his merry men. Captain Hook had other pirates, the swashbucklers, Smee. This is a young kid, a young adult, a preteen taking down pirates. He wasn't handsome with his little feather. He was a tough guy. So it demeaned me as a child pretending to be an adult because I was being complimented and really talked down. It seemed like I was being talked down to by these people who I know were not talking down to me. My grandparents almost never did. Maybe my grandfather did, JPL too. He was a tough guy. And I also annoyed the shit out of him when I was younger. But my grandmothers, they were as sincere as as you can possibly be as a human. They were the most sincere, nice people. So when they said I was handsome, they meant it. But just the tone and how they were kid talking. You know how you talk to your dog or you talk to a baby. Oh, look how handsome you look. It was the tone and then the little with your little hat and feather and your little jacket and belt all cinched together. I I'm a lot of things, okay? And as a kid, I was a lot of things. And secure in my height and my my fake adulthood was not one of those things that I possessed as a kid. I was not secure in my anything. So when I heard that, that just cut me right through to my Napoleon complex soul. Which is funny too, because the only thing I actually was as a kid and even as an adult was little. The only thing I was little. But because they called me that handsome little man with your little jacket and hat, running around in your penny loafers and your adult slacks, getting eggs. Look how handsome you look. I wasn't having any of that shit. I wanted to storm the beaches and conquer that compound just like Napoleon would have done. You don't call me little handsome man with my little feather. Do you know who I am? I just talked to the highway for 45 minutes. You think a little handsome man is talking to the highway in an inner monologue, pretending to smoke a fake cigarette? Forget about it. I was a big man. I was a big boy. And you were striking me down. You were cutting my legs out from underneath me as if I needed any of that, as if I needed to feel smaller than I already was. And ever since childhood, every single time I dressed up, handsome little man, look how handsome you look in your outfit, in your little outfit, in your little ball bagging bitch child outfit, you stupid little bastard. Trying to be an adult. That's cute, you stupid little shit. How handsome you look, you little stupid, handsome little shit. That's all I heard. Oh, look how handsome you look, you piece of garbage shitbag midget. That's all I heard. And I know it couldn't have been farther from the truth. They were actually complimenting me because they understood I did put effort into those outfits. I color coordinated my shirt with my slacks, with my socks, and made sure that the hat did not go against the jacket, even though I was taking the jacket off at Easter's and in the church and at my grandparents' house. And when I took it off, everything still matched perfectly. Everything was coordinated appropriately. Now, credit to my mom and parents and family, the adults at the time, because they obviously purchased all the clothes I had to work with. But I was ready to go. Every outfit, every single time. And this is documented. I don't have the pictures digitally yet. I have hard copies of these photos because obviously back in the day you're using film or Polaroids to take pictures, but you could see I have we have a family photo where we're all in matching like white t-shirts with pockets. The top of the pocket had a design on it, and then our MC Hammer pants had the matching design, coordinated. We have a family picture where we're wearing the 1996 Atlanta Olympics jumpsuits, track suits. And I took it a step further, not for the family picture. I don't think I did for the family picture, but going to school in those tracksuits, I wore a turtleneck underneath it. Like that kid Blaine in Hot Tub Time Machine, where he's wearing the turtleneck underneath his jacket when he goes to the party and he's fighting Rob Corddry in that movie. Very underrated movie, by the way. Go check it out. I was doing that. Sometimes, one time, I remember going to school, I wore a flannel shirt with a turtleneck tucked into jeans and hiking boots, like Al Borland. I was in third grade. I was playing fashion chess when all these other little bastards were playing checkers. And I was ahead of my time. I was beyond my time. I'm still beyond that time. You can look back on that and be like, oh man, that guy just missed a trend by a few years. There was never a trend. I was just doing something different all the time. I was just doing it differently all the time, for better or worse. But I took time, I took adult time and effort to these outfits. And just to be cut down like that with that terminology, little handsome man in his handsome outfit and his little hat and little feather. All I heard was, "You're a bitch. You're a little punk bitch. And we're just gonna have our way with you, you little shitbag." And I just wanted blood from then on out. So now, when I do the same thing, when I go out, if I go to a wedding, if I go, to any event, formal or semi-formal, if it's informal, forget about it. I'm going gym shorts and a t-shirt and the fanny pack, backwards hat, no problem. But if it's an official event, like a retirement dinner or above, an official dinner or above, or a nice date, everything's matching, everything's coordinating. Okay, if I'm wearing jeans, I got the leather belt on and it's matching the shoes. You match your leathers. Okay? And the shirt works with the jeans. And you can talk to my pals. The Bone Crusher knows this. Creature probably knows a little bit about this. I'll ask them, "Hey, does this shirt go with these colored jeans? Or should I go with a lighter pair of jeans to coordinate better with the shirt?" And it's not because I don't care what other people think. It's for I want to look good for me and feel good for me. But I ask these guys for advice because they have good advice on style. And they know when we have the same sort of style opinions. Like, so I know if what the Bone Crusher or Bonji or Creature or Wet Cat think look good, I'm gonna think looks good too. There's really nothing that they've ever worn or done in that world, in the outfit world, where I was like, yeah, not a good look. The only thing I could think of is somebody wearing something to be like, oh, my body type can't pull that off. My brother Bonji, Adonis, 6'4", 6'3", looking like Apollo Creed. He can wear stuff that I can't pull off. I wouldn't like it. But it looks great. Like the style is all there. Like, man, if I was you, I'd be crushing that as well. Good work. So we all have the same idea of what good style is. So we talk to each other. We bond and we give each other advice and recommendations in that regard. But all that's to say is I still do that for for more formal stuff. I pay attention to that crap. For me, I like that. Even Christmas Day, we went to my sister's. It was fairly informal, but we were going out. I was leaving the house, and it was informal as far as like the type. I wasn't wearing slacks or anything like that, but I had nice navy blue joggers. I had a gray top to accent the joggers. Two different tops. I had a short sleeve shirt, which was a nice shirt. It was a stretchy fabric that molded against my muscles and my chesticles to make me look big. And it accented perfectly with the navy blue joggers. And then I had pure white sneakers, fresh, clean sneakers to accent to put it all together. I pay attention to that crap. I always have. So even now, though, as an adult, I do that and I get, oh, you look handsome. If I had a girlfriend when I had girlfriends and stuff, oh, you look really handsome in that suit. Ah, you don't know what you just did to me. I know you're innocent. You didn't mean it. But you don't know what just happened here. Because now I want to kill everybody in sight. Now all I am thinking about is little 6-year-old Johnny Peter Pan with his ballin' ass hat on and his feather, trying to figure out ways to exact revenge on all the adults on Easter's for calling him little handsome man with his little fucking hat. And it just grinds my gears. And I do everything I can to effectively communicate to those people that say that now. Like, listen, I appreciate the compliment. I am 100% like acknowledging that you meant it as a compliment, but I'm a strange guy. And when someone calls me handsome, I fucking hate it. I can't do it. It reminds me of the time when I was trying to be an adult and I got the wind taken right out of my sails. And I'm still too insecure to move past that. And it's not a real problem, folks. As I'm sure you've picked up on. It is not a real problem. But when it happens, I flip a switch. It becomes a problem. And thank God I follow the big three every day because it gives me the strength to at least acknowledge, like, oh, there it is. There's the handsome trigger. I got to take the LPDS step back, remove myself from the negative emotions of rage, and go focus on more positive, productive things. Like the fact that I do look awesome. I do look handsome in my little outfit. And I'm not going to let anybody take that away from me. But, and again, I want to make this very clear. I am, I acknowledge that I may be the only person with that problem, with that first world problem. I might be the only one. Maybe you guys can't relate to that. But that is one example of a first world problem. Another one, this might be the most in moment annoying one for me. In the moment annoying. In the grand scheme of things, nothing. Not a problem at all. But this one, the never ending wipe. When you're doing your business, taking dumpies, and I know this is a family show. We don't want to talk about dumpies and toilet stuff, but when you're out there doing toilet stuff and you're just going and going and going, and it's like Chris Pratt said on the off on Parks and Rec. It's like you're wiping the a marker tip. And it's just still there. Never goes away, never ending. Keep going. I'm going through rolls and rolls and rolls of toilet paper, and it's just nothing stopping it. It's like there's little guys in there who have a final log, and they're slowly pushing it out like a tree. You know those pranks you see, those video pranks of like people in the showers most of the time, like outdoor showers, like outside of beaches and stuff, and they're soaping up their hair, and a guy's at the top where they can't see them. They're just continuously squeezing shampoo on them so the soap never comes out, and it's never ending soap, and they're blind and they can't see what's going on, and it's killing them. That's what it feels like every time. Every time it happens, never ending, and you're literally wiping your skin away to the bone, to the tailbone. And in the grand scheme of things, I have a toilet with running water. I have toilet paper. I'm in a warm, comfortable, cozy situation, and life is good. There are people out there with no toilet, no TP. I've seen it in person. I've seen it in person where entire countries of people live without TP or toilet. And that's normal. They don't even know if you tell them, well, why don't you use TP? They're like, what the hell is that? What's a their toilet paper? They're like, what's toilet? Like, never mind. So I'm sitting here with toilet and toilet paper. But in the moment, on and on and on and on and on, and it never ends. It never fucking ends. I don't know how I have that much stuff in me, and I'm trying to be as polite about it as possible. I don't know how I have that much shit in me still that I'm using wipe after wipe after wipe after wipe. I got shit to do. I got stuff to do in my life. I got LPDSs to record. I got spearhead stuff to do. I have dates and formal events to put on outfits for, to get ready for. I do not have time to sit there for an hour while the blood stops pumping to my legs. And now I have Muppet legs that can't move because I've been sitting there for an hour, wiping and wiping and wiping and wiping and wiping. Never ends. It is in the moment. I I don't think I get more aggressively frustrated over something so trivial than the never-ending wipe. It's so trivial. But I go from 0 to 180 in an instant. It's if it's not four wipes on a regular dumpy. If it's a situation where, I've had a lot to eat, like a holiday meal or a Taco Bell run or something, I'll give myself a little grace there. But on normal dumpy days, four wipes and a baby wipe. I use a flushable wipe as well after for a cleanup. If it's still going, I'm I'm off. I'm off the handles. I'm off the rails. It's over. I get to the point where I take the toilet paper roll off the thing, off the wall, and I'm punching it. Because I'm mad, but I don't want to punch the wall and break through the wall, break my hand. So I'm just wasting rolls of toilet paper, blasting this into smithereens because I'm so angry. Just be clean. Just be clean. Why do I have to keep wiping? And my legs are getting pins and needles and they're cramping up and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And before you know it, my entire bathroom is plastered with TP frag because I've been punching the goddamn thing so hard that it's blasting everywhere all over the place. And guess what? Now I have no TP to keep finishing off this never-ending wipe, and it's a vicious cycle of rage. The most annoying thing ever for something so trivial. That's another example of a first world problem that just grinds my gears. The last one I'll talk about today happened today, earlier in the day, when I was shoveling snow. It doesn't get me going as often, obviously, because I don't shovel snow as often. You don't have to, I don't have to shovel anymore. But I'd be willing to bet people who grew up in the Northeast or anywhere that gets snow, across the country that gets snow. I say Northeast, there's snow everywhere in the North, North Carolina up and then west. If you grew up anywhere that gets snow in the winter regularly, I know you've dealt with this at least one time, especially if you're closer to my age or older, because back in the day there wasn't, not everybody had snow plows. What do they call the personal snow plows? Why is that escaping me right now? Snow remover. What the hell am I talking about here, folks? You know what I'm talking about. It's not really a snow plow. It's you know, damn it. Why is that escaping me? I starting to lose it here, folks. Snow blower. Snow blower. Growing up, we didn't have a snowblower until later on when I was a little older. And when I was super young, I wasn't going to be able to use one anyway. My parents would use it. So we were just shoveling, regular shovels. And if you were a little bit more advanced in the manual shovel game, you got the shovel that had the 90-degree bend in the shaft for a little bit more easy on the back shovel experience. Now, what you would do on lighter snows, the light, fluffy kind of snow in your driveway or sidewalk that you can easily push out without having to pick up and haul over, like that thick, wet snow, that back-breaking snow that you can't push more than 1 foot before it's too heavy. You got to pick it up and nightmare. This is easy. You just push it across the driveway like you're mowing the lawn. This is, I know you guys who have shoveled snow have dealt with this before. You do this thing where you put the handle of the shovel in front of you, either on your chest or your waist, somewhere in the middle, center mass of you, and then you just walk forward and you're pushing the snow forward. Like I said, it's a light snow, so you're pushing forward. And then because of the angle of attack of the shovel, it gets stuck in a little crack or on a pebble or something in your driveway or sidewalk. Maybe there's something uneven, a little slant, anything. It gets it gets stuck, and while you're making good progress, you're moving at this point. It's always when you're at full speed of that row of snow shoveling, you make it to full speed because it's light. You can start hauling ass down that row. As soon as you get to full speed, you hit that crack and bang, that handle pummels your pelvis like it's nobody's business. Like you just got punched in the gut by Mike Tyson. Just bang. There's nothing you could do to prepare for it. Even if you say, like, hey, I got to be mindful of the cracks in the driveway, you can only adjust the angle so much without having to fully get out of snowplow mode and get back into regular shovel mode where you have the handle on the side. And when you have the handle on the side, you can't do that push plow situation nearly as effectively. You need to have some body behind it so you can push forward and use your weight and your center of gravity. If you're on the side, you're using all arms and lower back, and it's problematic. You get tired faster, you hurt your back, you just don't have the strength to push the whole row of snow like that. You need something back behind it. So even though you know it might be coming, you can't really adjust for it angle-wise on the shovel. Because if you go too low, then what's going to happen? The tip of the edge of the shovel is going to start facing up a little bit, and you're going to miss at least an inch of snow underneath. You're going to have to go back and redo the row to get the rest of the snow so that you're hitting driveway, you're hitting pavement. So you can't lower the angle too much. Obviously, you can't raise the angle too much because then the thing is going straight in the ground and you're not moving forward. Okay? Think of it as a right angle triangle. You got to have the right angle of the shovel for the physics to work. Okay? The other thing is there's snow on the ground. You don't see where the cracks are. And now, unless you're like Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones in Entrapment, where they memorize where the lasers are, the invisible lasers are in the museum that they're robbing from, you're unless you memorize where the cracks are in your own driveway or sidewalk, that's it. You're flying blind. You're Luke Skywalker going after the Death Star, but you don't really have the Force yet. You're not confident in the Force, and you don't have weird old Obi-Wan Kenobi in your ear telling you, trust the Force, you got the Force. No, you're flying blind. So you're going out there and you're pushing snow, and the next thing you know, you get tagged in the pelvis. And if you're a taller guy, you're dropping the angle even lower on the shovel towards your ball bag, and then you're getting blasted in the ball bag by the handle of the shovel. And it stops everything. And it doesn't just stop your physical forward motion, it stops your forward mental progress. Everything stops, and it's just, God damn it. My ball bag. Shambles. Now I'm going to piss blood for an hour. Or you hit the pelvis and you piss yourself because it pushes out whatever you got going on in there, in the bladder. And again, you can't prepare for it, so it's not like you can tighten up your core and be like, ah, got it, unless you hold your core tight the entire time and then you get dizzy and pass out. Absolutely brutal situation. Absolutely brutal. And there's nothing we can do about it unless you use a snowblower. But guess what? Even the snowblowers get stuck sometimes. Now, they don't, you're not, hopefully, you're not standing against the snowblower when you're using it, but it still gets stuck. It's moving forward and bing, it hits just at the right crack in the driveway, and you got to lift up, and it's absolutely frustrating. And again, real world, grand scheme of things, it's nothing. No one's ever got seriously injured by that, I don't think, unless they're using like a shovel where the handle is a spear at the end. But nobody gets really hurt. It's an annoyance. But in the moment, think about the factors at play. You're flying blind. You're doing something you don't want to do. Nobody wants to shovel snow. Okay, no sane person wants to shovel snow. So you're doing something you don't want to do. You're out in the cold, uncomfortable weather. And if you're bundled up to stay warm, you're not as mobile. Hopefully, you have enough padding in the front to suppress the blow a little bit from the inevitable. But you're not comfortable. You're doing something you don't want to do. You're cold. And then depending on when it happens, you're going to be tired from shoveling snow. Unless you have a 6 foot long sidewalk and that's it, you get tired. It wears you out. And when you're physically tired, you start getting mentally and emotionally tired too. And when all those factors combine and you hit back and it stops everything just stops. Oh, let me tell you something. I want to take that shovel and I want to sling it as far as I can, which in reality is not going to be very far. But I want to sling it and I want it to hit somebody. I want somebody else to feel the pain and misery that I am immediately feeling in that moment. But because we follow the big three, we take that LPDS step back, take a deep breath, and understand this is not a real problem. Okay? There are people out there who have gotten their houses buried in snow in blizzards. The people out in California and LA are getting their homes burned down. They would kill right now for a driveway they can shovel at a home that they can live in. It's not a real problem at all. And again, it doesn't do any real long-term physical damage to you unless you're using some sort of shiv of a shovel that's going to puncture you or really bust your ball bag up real bad. And that's it. That shit grinds my gears, and I wanted to talk about it because I know you guys feel the same way about this stuff. And I want to find out what it is so we can keep talking about it. But I also want you to remember it's I get it. It's okay that you have a negative emotion and you're frustrated and annoyed in those moments, but we have to keep trying as much as we can to remember that these are first world trivial problems and we're going to get through it. But it makes for funny stories. So, with that, I will post a solicitation message for you guys to let me know what your first world problems are that cause you the same amount of frustration as I do with my some of my problems. That's just some of them. We all have a bunch of them. Nobody's perfect. Don't pretend like, oh, nothing really bothers me. You're a liar. Okay? And you're mentally unwell. But pass them along. We'll talk about more. I'm sure when you pass on yours, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, that does it for me too. We're gonna see the common ground here in some of these funny issues that we have. So pass them along. You can call the hotline too, 202-670-1114. That'll be fun to listen to if you're gonna call the hotline with your problems too. So do that, please. That'd be funny. And that's all I got, folks. Before we go, really quick, the three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being and being able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. Number one, exercise every day. Do at least one thing every day to exercise yourself physically, mentally, or emotionally. Now, I do physical activity 6 days a week. And then on my rest day, I'm doing more so the mental, emotional side of the fitness world, but I'm still adding in mental and emotional fitness throughout the week as well. So pick your poison to make sure that you're exercising every day in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a physical activity, exercising, working out, going for a walk, or it's breaking the mental sweat, or it's doing some emotional, spiritual stuff if you're a spiritual person. The mental stuff will help the emotional stuff too. But if you're a spiritual, religious type, you can go pray, you can read Bibles, scriptures, you can do all that stuff as well. Number two, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty person, be a kind person. And that's not just out to others in the world, but it's to yourself. So like when you get into those situations where you got the never-ending wipes and you want to be angry and punch something or punch somebody or whatever, in that moment of negativity and shit, no pun intended, take the LPDS step back, detach from those negative emotions, and go focus on more positive, productive things in your lives. It's the hardest one to do for a reason. I get it. When your emotions are attached to something, especially negative emotions, it's the hardest thing to remove yourself from. It's the simplest thing, though, which is crazy. It's like simple. Just don't engage. Just don't be shitty. Don't respond negatively to somebody. Don't get angry. Don't let your anger get the best of you. Simple. Just don't do anything. That's as simple as you can get, but it's the most difficult to actually do it. So I understand that, but that's why it's so important we focus on it every day so that we can get better at honing that ability to not be shitty and be kind. Number three, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. By actively taking time out of your day to think about at least one good thing in your life and how shitty your life would be without that thing. And you're going to be in that state of gratitude. I do that sometimes in those moments. If I'm sitting there never ending wiping and I'm about to kill somebody, or beat up on that toilet paper roll again, I think about, oh, I have toilet paper. I have toilet. I have a flushable toilet. It's not like an outhouse that I have to go to. Uh, what would my life be like without any of that if that was non-existent? I saw a brief thing about they found like a brush, an ancient Roman brush that they think was a brush that they would use to wipe their asses. And then they would dip it in some sort of water and oil vinegar solution to clean it. And then the next person would now use that brush when they took dumpies. I couldn't possibly live like that. And I've said that multiple times. If I ever got caught as a hostage by the Taliban, beat me up, put bamboo shoots in my fingernails, electrocute my nipples, do whatever you got to do. But as soon as you put me in a room with no toilet and no TP, that's it, dude. I'm offing myself. That's it. Whereas there's no surviving that mess for me. So I think about that. I think about how good my life is because I have toilet and toilet paper and those amenities, and how shitty my life would be like without it. It puts me in a state of gratitude, and it helps me get better at following number 2 of the big 3. So if you do all those 3 things at least once a day, actively focus on those 3 things every day, I promise you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being. You'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies, and hit that hotline 202-670-1114. Follow us on Instagrams. Whenever I do post stuff, I'll post it on Instagrams and Facebook as well for these questions and stuff like that. So follow us, LPD_show. Hit the hotline 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.